It was March 1976 in Tokyo, Japan. Muhammad Ali was 34 years old, 2 years removed from his legendary victory over George Foreman in the Rumble in the Jungle, and still the heavyweight champion of the world. He'd come to Japan for a series of exhibition matches and cultural exchanges, part of a tour that was making him even more famous internationally than he already was in America. The Japanese people loved Ali with an intensity that sometimes surprised even him. His combination of supreme confidence and playful humor translated perfectly across the language barrier. His famous pre-fight poems, his braggadocio, his predictions, these weren't seen as arrogance in Japan, but as a form of performance art that the culture deeply appreciated. When he'd arrived at Tokyo's Haneda Airport 3 days earlier, more than 5,000 fans had shown up to greet him, many holding signs in English declaring, "Ali, you are the greatest." The scene had made the front page of every major Japanese newspaper. But what the Japanese really loved about Ali, what fascinated martial artists across the country, was his speed. In a culture that had spent centuries refining martial arts into their purest forms, where speed and precision were studied as spiritual practices as much as physical ones, Ali's hand speed was seen as something almost superhuman. Japanese boxing commentators would show slow-motion footage of his punches, breaking down the mechanics, trying to understand how someone so large could move so fast. It was a quality that transcended boxing and entered the realm of martial arts legend. The event was scheduled at the Nippon Budokan, the legendary martial arts arena that had hosted the 1964 Olympics judo competition. It was a sacred space for Japanese martial arts, and the fact that Ali had been invited to perform there showed how much respect he commanded. The plan was simple. Ali would do some light sparring demonstrations, meet with local martial artists, and participate in a cultural exchange that would celebrate both Western boxing and Eastern martial arts traditions. That's where Master Takeshi Yamamoto entered the picture. He was 59 years old, a 7th-degree black belt in Kendo, and came from a family of samurai that traced their lineage back over 400 years. His family's katana, the sword that had been passed down through generations, was displayed in Tokyo's National Museum. Master Yamamoto had been training in the way of the sword since he was 7 years old. For 52 years, he had dedicated his life to perfecting the art of iaido, the quick-draw technique that allowed a samurai to draw and cut in a single motion measured in fractions of a second.
Master Yamamoto had been invited to the Budokan to give a demonstration of traditional samurai swordsmanship before Ali's exhibition. It was meant to be respectful, a showing of Japanese martial tradition before the American champion demonstrated his own skills. Master Yamamoto performed beautifully, demonstrating cuts through bamboo so fast that the watching crowd couldn't even see the blade move. He would stand with his sword sheathed, facing a piece of bamboo, and in a movement faster than the eye could follow, he would draw, cut, and resheath the blade. A moment later, the bamboo would fall in perfect halves. The crowd erupted in applause. This was the pinnacle of martial arts mastery, decades of training resulting in movements so refined they seemed to defy physics. Master Yamamoto bowed to the audience, his demonstration complete. Then, the organizers invited Ali onto the stage to meet Master Yamamoto. It was supposed to be a simple photo opportunity, East meets West, boxing meets samurai tradition, mutual respect between warriors. Ali walked onto the stage with his usual confident stride, smiling and waving to the crowd. The two men bowed to each other, and through a translator they exchanged pleasantries. But Ali, being Ali, couldn't resist adding some showmanship. He looked at Master Yamamoto's sword, a bokken, a wooden practice sword, safer than the sharp blade, but still capable of serious damage in the master's hands, and said with a grin, "Master, they tell me you're the fastest sword in Japan. How fast is that blade compared to these?" He held up his fists and did his signature shuffle. The translator conveyed Ali's words to Master Yamamoto, who smiled at the champion's playfulness. But instead of laughing it off, Master Yamamoto saw an opportunity for a teaching moment. Through the translator, he responded, "Champion Ali, in Japan we have a saying, the sword is faster than the hand, because the sword extends your reach and your intention. My blade would touch you before your fist could reach me." Ali's eyes lit up. This wasn't meant as an insult. Master Yamamoto was simply stating what he believed to be a fundamental truth about martial combat. But Ali heard it as a challenge, and challenges were what he lived for. "Master, would you be willing to demonstrate that?" The translator looked nervous. This wasn't in the program. But Master Yamamoto, seeing the genuine interest in Ali's eyes rather than disrespect, nodded. "If the champion wishes to learn, I am willing to teach."
The crowd sensed something special was about to happen. The arena went quiet. This wasn't a planned demonstration. This was two masters of different arts about to test their skills against each other. Master Yamamoto explained through the translator, "We will stand 10 feet apart. I will strike toward your chest with my bokken. If what I believe is true, I will touch your chest before you can touch mine. This is not a fight, it is a demonstration of principle." Ali nodded, taking his fighting stance. "Sounds good to me, Master, but I think you're going to be surprised." They measured out 10 feet and faced each other. Master Yamamoto held the bokken in a traditional guard position. Ali stood in his classic boxing stance, hands up, weight on his back foot, ready to move. 2,000 people in the Budokan held their breath. Master Yamamoto gave a small bow, signaling his intention to begin. Then he moved. For someone who'd been training since childhood, Master Yamamoto's sword technique was blindingly fast. He closed the distance in a fraction of a second, the bokken streaking toward Ali's chest in a straight thrust that would have been impossible to see if you weren't looking for it. But Ali had been in the ring with the hardest hitters in the world. He'd fought Sonny Liston, Joe Frazier, and George Foreman, men who threw punches designed to end fights in single blows. He'd developed reflexes and speed that were almost supernatural, the result of decades of training combined with natural gifts that appeared once in a generation. As Master Yamamoto's sword thrust forward, Ali did something that made the entire audience gasp. He didn't try to block the blade. He didn't try to dodge away from it. Instead, he slipped to the side, just an inch, maybe 2, letting the bokken pass by his chest so closely that it brushed his shirt. At the same time, his hands were already moving forward. 2 jabs thrown in rapid succession, so fast they looked like a single blur of motion. The first punch touched Master Yamamoto's chest just as the sword was still extending past Ali. The second landed a fraction of a second later, before Master Yamamoto could recover or pull back. The entire exchange took less than 2 seconds, but in those 2 seconds, Muhammad Ali had done something that every martial artist in that arena knew was supposed to be impossible. He hadn't just dodged a master swordsman's strike, he'd landed 2 punches before the sword could touch him. Master Yamamoto froze, his bokken extended, Ali's fists still resting lightly against his chest. The samurai master's eyes were wide with shock. For a moment, nobody in the arena moved or spoke. They were all processing what they'd just witnessed. Then, Master Yamamoto slowly lowered his sword. He stepped back from Ali and stood straight. What happened next would become one of the most iconic moments in martial arts history.
Master Yamamoto bowed. Not a casual bow of acknowledgement, but a deep, formal bow from the waist, the kind of bow that in Japanese culture represents the highest possible respect. He held it for 10 full seconds while the entire arena watched in silence. When he straightened, his face showed genuine awe and respect. Through the translator, he said, "Champion Ali, I have been training with the sword since I was 7 years old. For 40 years I have studied nothing but the way of the blade. I have competed against the fastest swordsmen in Japan. I have taught students who have gone on to become masters themselves. In all that time, in all those years of training and combat, no one has ever moved faster than my blade. Until today." He paused, looking directly at Ali. "Your hands are faster than my sword. This is something I thought was impossible. You have taught me that speed has no weapon, no tradition, and no nationality. Speed is simply speed, and you possess it in a way I have never seen." The arena exploded in applause. 2,000 Japanese spectators, who had come expecting to see their traditional martial arts proven superior to Western boxing, instead witnessed something more profound. They saw two masters from completely different traditions recognize and honor each other's greatness. Ali, usually never at a loss for words, seemed genuinely moved by Master Yamamoto's words and gesture. He bowed back, not with the technical perfection of someone trained in Japanese customs, but with obvious sincerity and respect. "Master Yamamoto, I've fought a lot of tough men, but I've never faced a blade before. What you do with that sword is beautiful. It's not about who's faster, it's about two different kinds of fast meeting each other. I'm honored you showed me your art." What happened next surprised everyone even more than the demonstration. Master Yamamoto invited Ali to stay after the event for a private training session. For 2 hours that evening, while the arena staff cleaned up around them, the samurai master taught the boxing champion about the principles of speed in Japanese martial arts, about how speed comes not just from the muscles, but from the mind, from intention, from the elimination of unnecessary movement. He explained concepts like mushin, no mind, and zanshin, remaining mind, the mental states that allowed warriors to move without thinking, to react before the conscious mind could process what was happening.
Ali, in turn, showed Master Yamamoto some of the footwork and hand speed drills that had made him the fastest heavyweight in boxing history. He demonstrated the shuffle, explaining how it wasn't just flash, it was about creating angles and confusion in an opponent's mind. He showed how he could throw a 6-punch combination in the time most heavyweights threw 3. Two warriors, separated by language, culture, and martial tradition, communicated through the universal language of movement and mutual respect. They became friends, not just cordial acquaintances who smiled for photos, but genuine friends who corresponded through letters for years after. Master Yamamoto would send Ali letters written in Japanese calligraphy, which Ali would have translated, filled with philosophical observations about martial arts and life. Ali would send back letters filled with his usual humor and warmth, often including photos of himself training with funny captions that needed no translation. When Master Yamamoto's wife passed away in 1984, Ali sent flowers and a letter of condolence that the master's family said brought him to tears. When Master Yamamoto passed away in 1989 at the age of 72, his family sent Ali one of the master's practice bokken, the same one he'd used in their demonstration 13 years earlier. It came with a note that read, "He wanted the fastest hands in the world to have this, because you taught him that speed transcends the weapon. He considered you not just a friend, but a fellow student in the way of the warrior." The story of Ali and the samurai master became legendary in Japan. It's still told in dojos across the country as a lesson about respect, about the willingness to test your beliefs, and about recognizing greatness even when it comes from an unexpected source. In Japanese martial arts schools, instructors use the story to teach students that true mastery requires humility, the willingness to learn from anyone, even from a boxer who's never held a sword. For Ali, the experience reinforced something he'd always believed, that his speed wasn't just about boxing, it was something more fundamental. It was a gift that transcended his sport, that connected him to a larger tradition of warriors across cultures and throughout history. Years later, when asked about the fastest opponent he'd ever faced, Ali would sometimes joke, "Everybody asks me about Frazier or Foreman, but the fastest guy I ever went up against, that was a 59-year-old Japanese man with a sword, and if I'd been even a little bit slower, he would have touched me first." The demonstration lasted 2 seconds, the bow lasted 10, but the friendship, the mutual respect, and the legend they created together lasted forever. And it all happened because two warriors from different worlds were willing to test themselves, honor each other, and recognize that true speed, like true greatness, has no borders, no language, and no limits. If this story of speed transcending culture moved you, make sure to subscribe and hit that like button. Share this video with someone who needs to be reminded that respect between warriors is more important than winning. Have you ever learned something profound from someone completely different from you? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to ring that notification bell for more incredible true stories about the moments when different worlds meet and create something legendary.